Joining me is Todd Harris, COO of Hi-Rez Gaming.
Hey.
Great to have you here.
It's awesome to be here. We wish we could send the whole studio. These teams have worked hard to get here, so it's awesome to be here.
First game was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, I guess. The SK team certainly doesn't think so, but I know, talking to their captain, they have been running this boot camp for a week before the event, and that seems like it helped. They performed.
Definitely did. So we've got you here. We're going to grill you a little bit and
all right, bring it.
Abuse you and trying to get some information out of you or something. Maybe too harsh. But we're going to start off talking about the esports side of Smite, because it's getting bigger and bigger. You guys recently, obviously, announced the $600,000 World Championship. So talk me through how that came about. Why is esports so important to you guys?
Sure. Well, as a studio, we've always done online multiplayer games. So that's really the passion of, down from our CEO. Yeah, Tribes. Actually, I think the Tribes community helped us discover esports, honestly. I mean, the community organized a Reddit versus 4chan match, which got tremendous viewership and kind of surprised us. So from the beginning with Smite, we really wanted it to be a viable esport. We ran a super long beta, like almost 2 years. That's maybe the longest beta ever. But we were running tournaments from the beginning, and that helped the dev team a lot because balance, really comes out when you have the best players in the world playing. I don't know if anyone remembers release day Guan Yu, not our best moment. But we could correct really quickly because of the stats that we're seeing from esports. So
yeah, I mean, it might sound a little harsh, but esports players and communities tend to be the harshest critics of all. So you definitely get the right feedback.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we worked really closely. A lot of the players that are playing here in Cologne have been with Smite since the beta and even alpha days. So they talk with our designers, and then of course we can just collect great stats from every tournament and see, because there's many cases where gods are fine and not overpowered in the hands of pub play, but these guys just destroy with them. So it's very valuable to us as a studio.
Okay, so it's in your DNA, it's in your blood, it's been there from the beginning. What prompted you guys to put more structure around it this year?
Well, I think to have a successful esport, it takes multiple things. Definitely the game itself is the most important. It has to be balanced. It has to be competitive. There has to be enough appetite for people to play it. Certainly there's partnerships like the one we're doing here with ESL that help give the game recognition. But even though we had been running tournaments now for close to 2 years, what we started to see with our weekly tournaments was the same teams always winning, which was good from a brand recognition standpoint, but it made it hard for new teams to come into the scene. So we wanted a structure that would let the established pro teams compete regularly with more predictability, but also a way for new teams to do upsets, and upsets are fun, like we saw just now with SK. There's clearly room for new teams in Smite. So that's really what this event kicks off. It's 4 teams that clearly play at a professional level. We'll be adding 2 more teams to that roster, and that'll round out 6 teams for the Smite Pro League, which will be the first time we've had a structured league in Smite. They'll play for about 2 months. Every team will play each other at least twice, and eventually that will culminate in another LAN here in Cologne for the European side and one in North America, and that'll send 2 European teams, 2 North American teams. They'll be joined by 2 teams from China and 2 teams from Latin America, which is a pretty nice setup for our first Worlds to have 5 regions represented and an impressive prize pool.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Atlanta, Georgia, so your hometown.
Yeah, so it's great because being so close to the studio, they'll be able to visit the studio. We can bring our studio to the event. It's going to be a great venue. I think it's like 2,700 seats in the primary arena, about 500 in the second stage, so it should be a really nice event.
Yeah, I mean, if any of you at home haven't seen the Cobb Energy Arena, you should go and check it out because it really is a very superb bowl arena inside. Really impressive. Should be a great venue for esports. Talk to me about money because, we just had the International. There's other events going on around the world as well. There's lots and lots of money pouring into esports now, and you guys are no different. You've put an absolute, it's not like you've just come up with a structure. You've said, no, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. How do you come up with a figure like that, and how hard is it to just, no, we're going to do this?
Yeah, well, money does get players' attention, and it's not only money from prizes, but also some consistency of income for the players that want to do this professionally. So that means ways for them to make money with streaming, with sponsorships, in addition to the prizes. So for us, 600,000 was definitely a respectable figure. Given that we just released in March, it compares quite well, really, against any team esport at this point. It definitely puts us in the top 5. I think actually number 4 already. And then the other big component to us when it comes to money is the community crowdsourcing approach. I think the Invitational did a great job with that, and we saw that work already very well when we did our launch tournament, where we put up 100,000. The community raised 100,000. We saw it work for charity drives. We just did a Red Cross drive. It worked well. So 600,000 is a good number, and it will challenge the community once we unveil items for them to buy that will help to try to push that, I don't know, maybe to 1 million. That'd be a nice round figure to shoot for.
Challenge is laid down right now by Todd Harris. So Smite community, you know what to do.
Let's do it together.
Okay. What's intrigued me about learning about you guys and learning about the game is that you have a very different approach to community. You're very hands-on. You're in the Reddit threads. You're in the community threads. You're all over them, and you're not frightened of having a bit of fun either.
That's true. I mean, I think that certainly when we do esports events, we're learning as a studio. We want each one to be more professional than the last, but professional doesn't mean you have to take yourself too seriously, sure. Right? So fortunately, we've got a very creative video team, and we have an entire development studio who are not afraid to make fools of ourselves, and starting with me. So, from the CEO on down, we're not afraid to look ridiculous on camera, to put that content out for the community, to try to interact with the community. Because at the end of the day, with an online game, the community makes or breaks the game. It really is a community, even more so than a game. So, yeah, we try to have a bit of fun.
And I love how there is always a bit of contrast. This happens in every game, but I like what you guys have done in the sense that what people think actually happens and what really happens inside Hi-Rez is somewhat different, I think. Would be fair to say, wouldn't it?
Oh, for sure, yes. The community always has version A, and version B is not the same. So that sounds like a segue. I think it's good. I mean, Smite's still a young game. The esports scene is young, so it's exciting that teams that maybe don't have the name recognition are able to cause a stir. It's going to be an awesome grand final, so look forward to watching, and it means, I think, a really compelling Smite Pro League, right? All 4 of these teams will be battling each other over 8 weeks, and it's great if anyone can take it.
Makes it more unpredictable. Gives the other teams a little bit more confidence and hope.
I think so. I mean, watching from NA in the studio, EU over the last 10 weeks was actually known for being less predictable. It was kind of a lot of excitement around which team would take it, and so we just saw that continue here in Cologne, which was awesome.
I think Bart and I said at the very start of the show today that on any given day, any team can beat anyone, and I think that's proved absolutely right today, because on paper, Cloud9 and TSM were the favorites.
Definitely have the experience. Players have been in the game for a long time, but it's healthy that another team can take it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's good fun. We're going to talk a little bit more about Hi-Rez.
All right.
Who are they? How did they come together? How did your CEO become such a crazy guy? Why are you the straight guy in the pairing? There's always the two.
The Hi-Rez origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. Where did you guys come from? For those that don't know.
So you can't talk about Hi-Rez without talking about our CEO and chief designer, chief destructive influence, Erez Goran. And it's also, it's just an awesome story. So, when Erez was in high school, he learned programming to make computer games.
This is back in the 80s?
This is...
bedroom programming?
Well, I was the bedroom programmer. Okay. My games didn't make it much past friends and family. But he and his brother actually got a few published for the Atari 2600 and Atari computer. That's how old we are. You see the gray close up. So, he got a few published, but it was in the 80s. And so it was right around the 83 to 85 crash of the video game industry. And so Erez had to take another line of work. And being an entrepreneur, he started a business software company, thinking one day he'd get back into games. And about 20 years later, after becoming a self-made millionaire many times over, he turned to me. He was kind of done with business software, and he didn't want to retire. He could have bought a yacht or more cars, but instead he said, let's take this money and make a video game studio. Let's make computer games the way we want to. We don't need a publisher. It can be our designs, our timelines, our talent. And so, it's awesome. For 20 years, he was a CEO of a boring business company by day, a gamer by night, and then he got to create a studio. So it's an awesome story, and I'm just happy I could be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've formed, you've got the company, it's up and running. How do you, and what do you think about in terms of game design? What were your philosophies early on? What did you want to make?
Well, from the beginning, it was online multiplayer. So we were never a story narrative-driven company. It was really around online multiplayer, team-based PvP, right? So that was with our first game, Global Agenda, which was super ambitious. It took us 5 years. We learned a lot. But we actually built a great technology platform for making online games that allowed us to make Tribes next much more quickly. And at the same time we were working on Tribes, we were working on Smite. So it's always been around online multiplayer games where we've always been gameplay first. You know, inside the studio we start with very rough models. We just make sure we've got a fun core game loop, and then later we add the art. That's why the community has seen our maps change multiple times, our gods get visual upgrades, because we wanted to make sure we had fun kits and designs first, and then add the polish. So that's always how we've thought about game design.
Okay, let's bring it right up to date with Smite.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible story for you guys in the last few years. You had a very long beta phase. In fact, I don't mean any disrespect to this, but one man did ask me, is that game still in beta? Because it was, I think it was like a 2-year beta.
Close to 2
years. It was a long time.
Yeah, it was, but it was important for the game to get well balanced, right, which is important in a competitive game. But yeah, I mean, Smite has done well for us. It's allowed us to grow the studio, which of course is good for players and community because we can make more content. We can make new gods faster, new modes, and also, you know, new skins for people to enjoy. So yeah, I mean, we were at about 50 employees for a long time, but thanks to Smite, I mean, we're now 125 on our way to 200. So thanks to everyone. I'm glad people dig the game because it's helping us grow and serve the community better.
Okay, that's the present. Where do you see things going in the future? Obviously, you have the European Pro League starting off this weekend. You've got North American Pro League coming. You've got Latin America qualifiers, Asia qualified. World Championship in January. It's all going to be, I guess you're going to be globe-trotting all over the place.
Yeah, it is really. It's more Smite. You know, I mean, for us, it's cool to see such an international scene. You know, it's great being here in Cologne and seeing these players travel from mainly around Europe. We've got one player who came from Israel. So we think it really deserves to be an international game. So for us, you know, the next 6 months are all about new regions, and that's going to be great for esports competition because different regions will bring different metas, different personalities. So I think it's an exciting time to be a Smite player.
Yeah, I think a few of my friends said, are the Chinese good at Smite? And I said, well, yeah, they are. And why? And he said, well, because they seem to be, they're killing everyone at every game right now. So
they're good at everything. Yeah, it'll be interesting come January because honestly, they won't have nearly as much time. Same with Latin America. You know, the servers have been up, but for a smaller player population. But there are teams, and they are practicing today. So get ready, Europe and NA, because China is coming.
Okay, and what are the plans for Hi-Rez as a studio? Are you guys going to, you know, just concentrating on Smite for the next 5 to 10 years, or are you looking at other games? Are you looking at maybe bringing Tribes back at any point?
Well, you know, we're a multi-game studio, so I think we'll always be a multi-game studio. We all have plans, but you know, our number one focus right now continues to be Smite. And like I say, the team for Smite is double the size than it was just last year, and so we see continued growth around Smite as our main priority. Okay,
I've got one other question. Which
sure.
There's no one watching right now, Todd. No one tuning in whatsoever. What's the next god?
The next god is going to be overpowered.
Oh.
That's all I got, sorry.
I tried, Smite community. I did try and get in there. Thank you so much for being with us, Todd, and sharing your history with Hi-Rez. It's a great history, a great story, of course.